Good day, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Today's video will be about solving a triangle, specifically solving a right triangle. And by solving a triangle, what I mean, find every angle and every side. When you have a right triangle, you automatically know one of the angles. There's only 5 things you have to find out, and you have to be given 2 of those things. You have to know at least one side. And from there, you can either have a different side or you can have an angle. So you need at least a side and one other piece of information. So in this case, we're going to figure out this missing angle and these 2 missing sides. As you can see, it's pretty easy to figure out this angle up here because all 3 of these angles have to add up to 180 because that's a triangle sum conjecture. So 180 minus 90 is 90, and 90 minus 31 would give you 59. So this is 59 degrees. And now you choose. Let's call this one Y. Let's call this one X. You can really call it whatever you feel like. So if there's many ways, I'm choosing 1. I'm going to use 31 to figure out Y. And I have to use 17 because I need that side length. So which trig ratio would relate 31, Y, and 17? Well, I've got the opposite side, and I've got the hypotenuse. So what trig function is that? Opposite and hypotenuse, that would be sine. All right, let's set up my equation. I know that the sine of 31 degrees equals y over 17. So to solve this equation, I just multiply both sides by 17. So what is 17 times the sine of 31? That gives us an answer, and I'm going to go to 2 decimal places this time, 8.76. That's my y value. Now I know this side. I have one more thing to find out, which is this side. Now, personally, I find the easiest thing to do is just use another trig ratio to find x. Again, that's a personal thing. I like doing that because now I've got the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. So I know that I would have to use the cosine ratio. Cosine of 31 degrees equals x over 17. So if I multiply both sides by 17, I get 17 cosine of 31, and I get a side of 14.57. We are done. It's all figured out. Nothing else I've got to do. But I do want to stress that there are many ways to do it. Could I have used Pythagorean theorem once I knew that was 8.76? Sure, I could. Could I have used the 59-degree angle and done sine of 59 as x over 17? Sure, I could. There are multiple ways to do these problems. I've just shown you one way. Last example. I have a right angle and I have 2 sides. So you know what? I have 2 sides. Why don't I just go ahead and figure out Pythagorean theorem to figure out this one? I know that x squared plus 18 squared is 23 squared. So I should know 18 squared. What is that? 324. See, I was off. 324. 23 squared is 529. Subtract that from both sides. Subtract 324. So we'll subtract the 324. Gives me 205. Oops, and look what I forgot to put. Square. All right, so the square root of 205 I get about, I'm going to go 14 or 2 decimal places again. 14. No, don't do 14 decimal places. So that's 14.32. So that's an estimated answer because obviously the answer is a little bit longer than that, although it's a good answer. So I like to avoid using my estimated answers when I figure out the other things. Again, that's just a personal thing. How do I figure out these angles? That'll be the next question. I'm going to give these angles a name. Oh, I could use A and B. Let me use A and B this time. Why not? A and B. I thought about alpha and beta. It doesn't matter. It's a variable. You can choose. All right, if I want to figure out angle B. And I'm going to use these two sides. I'm using these two because those are not estimates, those are exact values. Which trig ratio would fit this situation? All right, so again, I've got B, the opposite is X. I do know what X is, but I want to use these two sides. So I'm going to use the adjacent and the hypotenuse. And if I use adjacent and hypotenuse, of course, that is cosine. So I'm going to say that the cosine of the angle that I do not know, B, is the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. And if I don't know the angle, remember what I hit? I hit second cosine. And then I type in my ratio, 18/23. Whoops, I did it again. 23. So my angle is approximately, oh, that's a good one, 38.50. Okay. So that's what my angle is. Now, once I know angle B, there's very little work to do. I don't really have to do another trig ratios or anything. I know that these three angles have to add up to 180. So 180 minus 90 is 90. So 90 minus 38.50. So 90 minus this answer gives me 51.5. So that is my value of A. So now I've got it all figured out. I know what X is, I know what A is, I know what B is. I already had those two in the 90s, so my triangle is solved. Let me know if this helped out. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And then until we meet again, have a great day.